Hi folks, Dr. Bob McCauley. Why I only eat raw fruits and vegetables and how I got started doing it over 20 years ago. I've been living on a raw food diet now. It's about close to 20 years. And the why is pretty easy. The reason I got into the raw food diet and I started eating only raw fruits and vegetables is because that's the healthiest diet. It's the only reason. It's not the tastiest diet. I mean, I wish I could come home every night and have a nice big pizza, you know, and a beer, you know, and maybe have a nice big piece of cake for you know, dessert, but that's not healthy. I mean, it'd be great. I'd be in great shape and everything. These are the foods that we all like and we love and everything. Pizza, that's my favorite food still to this day, but I avoid it. I don't eat it. It's not healthy. Why is it healthy? It's healthy because raw fruits and vegetables have their enzymes, so they haven't been destroyed by cooking. Now, why is that important? Because that makes the food self-digesting. So this is an alkaline substance, and it's full of enzymes and full of rejuvenating properties and substances and nutrients that are going to go directly into your body, right into your bloodstream as you eat them until you cook it. And when you cook it, all that's gone. The enzymes are gone. The life force is gone. Call it what you want. Those enzymes are amazing. They're only, you know, only God can make an enzyme. We're never going to make one. They're amazing, and they're only found in, you know, plants and animals and mammals, and that's it. Nowhere else on earth you find an enzyme, just in living things. And so you put those into the body and they self-digest. So there is the why. Now, how did I get started? People ask me this all the time, like, what did you do? How did you get going? Well, here's the way I did it. First of all, I'm a huge believer in spirulina and chlorella. If you watch this channel, you know that I'm Mr. Spirulina and chlorella. These are two types of algae. They're the strongest foods in the world, and they're what I use for my protein rather than animal protein, meat, fish, eggs, or dairy. I've been a vegetarian now like close to 39 years, but moving to becoming a vegan and then a raw foodist at the same time, this is like night and day between health. This is really the true health. Take a small handful of chlorella or spirulina, just like that, with any meal. That's all the protein you need for that meal. And protein is so important to consume with any meal. You don't need a lot of protein. You actually only need a couple, 2 or 3 grams of protein. Now, don't listen to what they tell you in the food pyramid or whatever they call that thing. We need 51 grams of meat or protein a day. There's no way you could possibly eat 51 grams of protein in a single day. So it's just meat, as an example, is only about 15% protein. Okay, so, but how did I get going? So I just started going out and getting all this fruit. And I was cutting it up. I was eating bananas. I was eating pineapple. I was eating fruit that I'd never eaten before. I was buying all sorts of stuff. I was never a big fruit eater, and I was really never a big salad eater or somebody who would eat a bunch of raw foods or anything. I just never did that. Now, I'd been a vegetarian for many, many years already, probably 18, 19, but you know, I hadn't done anything like this. But what I realized right from the beginning is you need protein with everything you eat, because that makes it digestible. And with the chlorophyll in the algae, you know, this is our most important nutrient, so it's important that we get chlorophyll. But it just really mollifies all the sugar from coming into your bloodstream too quickly. I'm pretty active, so for me, a lot of fruit in the morning with sugar is really good because it gives me a lot of energy, but that's how I started. So I had a lot of fruit in the morning. Now, what would I eat at lunch? Well, to be honest with you, I kind of eat my breakfast late in the day or late in the morning. You know, more like around 10 to 12, somewhere in there. So you call lunch. I really don't have a lunch per se, but if I was going to have lunch, maybe I would just have another salad, or I'd have an avocado with some hemp seeds on it, and I'd have my spirulina and chlorella. I always have my spirulina and chlorella with every single meal that I eat, regardless of what I'm eating. Even if it is a cooked food. I mean, you know, from time to time I might have a piece of bread or something, but I'm pretty loyal to the raw food diet. You don't have to go crazy. What you never want to do really is say, wow, I'm never going to eat this food again. You know, this is my last steak. And it's just all psychological. The only reason you put anything into your body is right up here. It's the only reason you do it. The only reason you eat a pizza, the only reason you eat a piece of cheese, the only reason you eat a burger, and the only reason you eat a salad is just strictly up here. It's, you know, we eat these other foods because we like the taste and we're used to eating them. And we're under the mistaken impression that they're actually healthy for us when they're not. They bring on all disease. This is the one thing that people just do not want to recognize, that living on a cooked food diet is really unhealthy, and this is what leads to all the disease that we see in our society. Of course, the beginning is the hardest part when you're starting a raw food diet. So you're just not used to eating raw foods and feeling filled up, and the reason is when you eat cooked foods, your body really there's not a lot of nutrition there. So then a few hours later, you're hungry again. I mean, people really can't. I probably eat 1/3 the amount of food that I used to on a raw food diet than I did when I lived on a cooked food diet. Believe it or not, 1/3. And people can never understand why don't you eat? Why aren't you ever hungry? It's because when you eat a raw food and you live on a raw food diet, your body is getting all these nutrients on an ongoing basis. Day in and day out, it gets nutrients. And so it's never really starved for nutrients. So your brain isn't sending out signals, hey, I'm hungry, I don't have all these nutrients. So you really are not hungry. The way you are when you live in a cooked food diet. But the most difficult thing in the beginning is how you get going. This is what I did. So the two things that are going to really help fill you up are, number one, fat. So eat a lot of raw, healthy, fatty foods. I used to, in the beginning, I like, for instance, avocado. That's a really good one. Nuts and seeds, raw. Again, you don't want them roasted. You want them cooked. I used to eat a lot of walnuts, and just other raw nuts. I'd put sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds on my salad. So that's a really good way. It helps fill you up. And then I would use olive oil, or there's other oils like MCT oil is around now. And these oils, this fat, will help fill you up because it's really, your brain really just responds to that very well. Well, I'm getting fat, so I'm feeling filled up. So that helps a lot. And then what I did for 4 years, I had a bowl of rice, and I had that with every single meal. And I went through every kind of rice you can imagine. I had white rice, I had sticky rice, I had brown rice, I had black rice, I had red rice. I mean, I had every kind of brown rice, every kind of rice that you could imagine. You can't believe how many kinds of rices there are out there, because I must have had 20 or 30 different types of rice through those years. The black China rice and all this kind of stuff. But that stuff really helps fill you up, and that's what you want in the beginning. Now, if I was going to do it again, I wouldn't have used rice. I would have used quinoa. Now, quinoa is a much healthier grain for a number of reasons. There's no gluten in it whatsoever, and so there's no stickiness to it or anything like that. And they call it the queen of grains. I think it's the best grain out there. Millet is also a really great one to have, but I like personally, if I was going to do it all over again like that, I would have the quinoa. And I don't need that anymore. I don't need an extra little bowl of rice or quinoa or a potato. You could use a potato or a sweet potato. If you're going to go with potatoes, I recommend sweet potatoes for sure. So, and because they're much more healthier than a regular potato, without any doubt. This is how I got started. So you fill yourself up on that because it's all psychological and you want to fill up your belly. Now, I will admit I'm not like anybody else. I come home and at night and I have a salad. I go out to my garden and I get my greens and I have this big huge garden and I have a salad, and I do it every single night, and I just love doing that. Now, everybody's not going to live like that, but there are hundreds of raw food preparation books. I hate to call them raw food cookbooks, but because there's no cooking, but the raw food preparations, and there's some amazing stuff you can make. I started going to this raw food potluck many years ago. It was run by this woman, Cricket Lot. So I go into this thing and I'm going, wow, raw foods that are all made into all these different dishes. Like there was a spaghetti dish and there was some kind of pie, but none of this stuff had been cooked. And I couldn't believe you could prepare foods like this, and it would be delicious. So if you get somebody who's like a raw food chef, and there's some really great ones out there, and there's some raw food restaurants, you can get some amazing dishes made, and by raw foods. I mean, you would never know, wow, this is all 100% raw. You can make a pizza. I used to make pizza with my kids. The crust is made out of seeds. The crust is made, maybe you could put sprouts in there and then dehydrate it. You dehydrate the whole thing. So it's really delicious foods, and when you go to these raw food potlucks, you get all these different types of foods that people have prepared, especially if you go to a good one where they actually make all this stuff. We used to have a great one here in Lansing for years and years. But you could really taste these foods. So that's how I got into it. And then I started feeling fantastic all the time. I literally never have a day where I'm low on energy. I don't feel good. The only time I ever felt bad in the last 20 years of being on this raw food diet is when I didn't eat my raw food meal. When I went out and I snuck out and I had a piece of pizza, or I had this, or I had something. It's the only time you don't feel good. Otherwise, I can have a gigantic raw food meal like at one of these potlucks, and you're full, but you're not stuffed. You don't feel like you ate turkey dinner. You just feel like you can't move anymore. You feel full, and you feel fantastic. And if it's truly a raw food meal and you didn't eat any cooked foods, it's all self-digesting, and you're just and you're going to be incredibly healthy. This is where health comes from. This is why people can do all these ancillary things. They can start drinking water, ionized water. They can take spirulina and chlorella. They can start taking minerals. They can make a lot of little changes, but in the end, if you don't change your diet and you don't really go over to the raw food diet, you're never really going to be healthy. It's the hardest thing, but it's the most rewarding thing. But what in life is not really, has great rewards that isn't difficult? I guess that's kind of just the way things are. If it's hard and it's worth it. And so raw food diet, it's not easy. It's really hard, but great health, let me tell you something. There's nothing like it. I enter this temple every single day. Dr. Bob. I'll see you guys next time.
Check out my book, Achieving Great Health, The 7 Components of Great Health. It's my blueprint of how you can achieve amazing health at any age.